Fasting during the month of Ramadan is one of the most recognizable and widely observed practices in the Islamic world. Each year, over 1 billion Muslims abstain from food, drink, and certain physical needs from dawn to sunset for an entire month. While the act of fasting is visible, its underlying reasons, purposes, and wisdom are often less understood, particularly by those outside the faith. Ramadan is not simply a cultural tradition or a seasonal ritual. It is a divine commandment rooted in the Qur'an, practiced by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and observed by the Muslim community since the earliest days of Islam. The fast of Ramadan is both an act of worship and a comprehensive spiritual training program that encompasses the body, mind, and soul. In this lecture, we will examine the practice of fasting in Ramadan from multiple angles: scriptural foundation, historical background, spiritual objectives, legal rulings, social implications, and even its health-related aspects to answer the central question: why do Muslims fast in Ramadan? 2. The Quranic command and its context. The primary source for understanding the obligation of fasting is the Qur'an. The command is found in Surah Al-Baqarah, verses 183 to 185, which state, "O you who have believed, fasting has been prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may attain Taqwa, God consciousness. Fasting is for a limited number of days. So whoever among you is ill or on a journey during them, then an equal number of days are to be made up. And upon those who are able to fast, but with hardship, a ransom as substitute of feeding a poor person each day. But whoever volunteers excess, it is better for him, and to fast is better. For you, if you only knew, the month of Ramadan is that in which the Qur'an was revealed, a guidance for mankind and clear proofs of the guidance and the criterion. So whoever sights the new moon of the month, let him fast it. And whoever is ill or on a journey, then an equal number of days are to be made up. Allah intends for you ease and does not intend for you hardship, and wants for you to complete the period and to glorify Allah for that to which He has guided you, and perhaps you will be grateful." These verses form the foundation of the obligation. Several key points emerge. The command is universal for believers, addressed to those who have believed, meaning it applies to all adult Muslims. Continuity with past communities. Fasting was not invented in Islam. It was a practice in previous revealed religions. The goal is taqwa, spiritual awareness, self-restraint, and mindfulness of Allah. Ease and flexibility. Exemptions are provided for illness, travel, and other valid hardships. Connection to the Quran. Ramadan is chosen because it is the month of the Quran's revelation. From the outset, fasting is presented not as a burden, but as a beneficial spiritual exercise, framed with mercy and ease. Historical precedent of fasting before Islam. Before the advent of Islam, various forms of fasting were practiced by earlier religious communities. The Jews observed fasting, especially on Yom Kippur, as a form of atonement. The Christians practiced fasting during periods such as Lent, though the form and duration have varied over centuries. Pre-Islamic Arab tribes also had voluntary fasting days, often linked to personal vows or mourning. Islam did not abolish the concept of fasting, but refined it, removing innovations, superstitions, and unnecessary hardship, and connecting it directly to Allah's command and spiritual objectives. Why Ramadan was chosen. Revelation of the Quran. Ramadan was not selected arbitrarily as the month of fasting. Its distinction lies in being the period in which the Quran, was first revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. This moment occurred in the cave of Hira, when the angel Gabriel conveyed the first divine words, "Read in the name of your Lord who created." This event marked the beginning of prophethood and the final message to humanity. By fasting in Ramadan, Muslims commemorate the descent of divine guidance and reorient their lives towards its message. The spiritual purpose. Taqwa, verse 183 of Surah Al-Baqarah. Allah makes it clear that the primary objective of fasting is to attain Taqwa, a comprehensive term encompassing God consciousness, mindfulness of one's duties to Allah, and moral self-restraint. Classical scholars have elaborated on this concept extensively. Imam Ibn Kathir explains that Taqwa means placing a protective barrier between oneself and the anger or punishment of Allah by obeying His commands and avoiding His prohibitions. Imam al-Qurtubi notes that fasting is one of the most effective means of cultivating Taqwa because it weakens the physical desires that often lead to sin, and it nurtures a constant awareness that Allah is watching. Fasting is unique among acts of worship because it is concealed. A person may appear to be fasting, but they could eat in private if they wished. The fact that Muslims refrain even in private demonstrates a higher level of sincerity, which directly fosters Taqwa. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Whoever does not give up false speech and acting upon it, and ignorance, Allah has no need of him giving up his food and drink." Sahih Bukhari. This hadith emphasizes that fasting is not merely physical abstinence, but moral and ethical discipline. If a person avoids food and drink but engages in sinful speech or behavior, they have missed the essence of the fast. Fasting in practice. Legal rulings and pillars of the fast from a jurisprudential perspective. Fiqh. Fasting in Ramadan has specific rulings and requirements. Definition of fasting in Islamic law. Fasting sawm means abstaining from food, drink, sexual relations, and other nullifiers from true dawn, fajr, until sunset, maghrib, with the intention of worship. The pillars of the fast. Scholars agree that the pillars of fasting are intention, niyya. The fast must be done for the sake of Allah. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Actions are but by intentions, and every man will have only what he intended." Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. Abstinence from nullifiers. This includes eating, drinking, and sexual relations during fasting hours. Conditions of obligation. Fasting Ramadan is obligatory for every Muslim who has reached puberties of sound mind. Physically ableist, not in a state of menstruation or postnatal bleeding. Exemptions. Islam grants legitimate exemptions for those who cannot fast. The sick or those with medical conditions, travelers, pregnant or breastfeeding women, if fasting poses harm, who are unable to fast. In such cases, missed fasts can be made up later, or compensation, fidya, can be paid, feeding a poor person for each missed day. Prophetic teachings about Ramadan. The sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, provide further insight into the nature and blessings of Ramadan. As a month of mercy and forgiveness, he said, when Ramadan begins, the gates of paradise are opened, the gates of hell are closed, and the devils are chained. Sahih Bukhari. Then Sahih Muslim. This metaphor signifies that temptations are reduced and spiritual opportunities are maximized during this month. Reward for fasting. He also said, "Whoever fasts Ramadan with faith and seeking reward from Allah will have his past sins forgiven." Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. The condition of faith. Iman and expectation of reward. Itisab means that fasting should be done out of obedience to Allah. not as a cultural formality, fasting as a shield. The Prophet, peace be upon him, described fasting as, fasting is a shield. So when one of you is fasting, he should avoid sexual relations and quarreling, and if someone fights or insults him, he should say, I am fasting, Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. This highlights fasting as a form of moral armor that protects the believer from sinful behavior, ethical and moral dimensions beyond food and drink. Fasting trains the entire body in obedience. The tongue refrains from lying, gossip, and hurtful speech. The eyes avoid looking at prohibited things. The ears avoid listening to immoral content. The heart remains engaged in remembrance of Allah. The spiritual essence of fasting is to purify the soul and discipline the nafs, the lower self. By reducing physical indulgence, the believer gains greater control over their desires and inclinations. The Prophet, peace be upon him, warned against fasting without moral restraint. Perhaps a fasting person will gain nothing from his fast, except hunger, and perhaps one who stands in prayer will gain nothing from his standing, except sleeplessness. Sunan Ibn Majah, social impact and community unity. Ramadan has a profound social dimension. Fasting is a collective act. The entire Muslim community fasts together, breaking their fast at the same time, often in groups. Compassion for the poor experiencing hunger and thirst creates empathy for those who suffer from poverty daily. This often leads to increased charity during Ramadan. Zakat and Sadaqah. Ramadan is the peak season for giving. Zakat al-Mal, annual obligatory charity. Zakat al-Fitr, charity given before Eid, prayer to purify the fast and help the needy. Voluntary charity, strengthening bonds families and communities. Gather for iftar, breaking of the fast and Taraweeh night prayers. These gatherings strengthen unity and brotherhood. Health perspectives, recognized benefits in science, while the primary purpose of fasting is spiritual. Scientific studies have documented physical benefits, improved insulin sensitivity, aiding in blood sugar control, cellular repair and autophagy, removal of damaged cells, weight management, controlled caloric intake, enhanced mental clarity due to stabilized blood sugar and hormonal balance. However, in Islam, these are secondary benefits. The spiritual objective remains paramount. Laylat al-Qadr, the night of power within the last 10 nights of Ramadan, lies Laylat al-Qadr. Described in the Qur'an, the night of decree is better than 1,000 months. This night, believed to be when the Qur'an was first revealed, offers an opportunity for immense reward. Worship on this night is better than 83 years of worship. The exact date is hidden, encouraging believers to strive harder in the last 10 nights. Eid al-Fitr, celebration after worship. Al-Fitr marks the end of Ramadan. It is not a celebration of physical indulgence after deprivation, but an expression of gratitude to Allah. Muslims gather for a special prayer, give zakat al-Fitr, and share meals and joy with family and neighbors. Common misconceptions. Misconception 1. Fasting is harmful. Gives. In reality, Islam allows exemptions for those who may be harmed, making it safe. Misconception 2. Fasting is only about food and drink. Gives. It is a holistic spiritual discipline involving character and behavior. Misconception 3. Muslims fast all day and night. Gives. The fast is from dawn to sunset. Eating and drinking are allowed at night. Fasting in Ramadan is a divine prescription for the heart, mind, and body. It teaches taqwa, gratitude, patience, discipline, and compassion. It strengthens the individual's relationship with Allah, bonds the community, and connects Muslims to a 1,400-year-old tradition rooted in divine revelation. When asked, why do Muslims fast in Ramadan? The comprehensive answer is, because it purifies the soul, disciplines the body, strengthens community bonds, and draws the believer closer to the Creator.